podcast. Welcome to the best place to understand how you can change this to live in Costa Rica. So let's talk reading material. Let's talk books. I know it doesn't sound as sexy, but it's very important that you guys realize that moving to Costa Rica is not as simple as the vacation. Most people will come here with the idea of, okay, I'm going to go to the beach, I'm going to go to the volcano, and they have that in mind, but there's really no foundation to that. And so when they get here, yes, they go to the beach, and yes, they go to the volcano, but once that's done, then what is it? I mean, because a vacation is meant to end, but a life and a lifestyle is meant to continue. And so the problem is there's no foundation. So these are some books that honestly helped me on my journey. First, I would say number one would be the Bible. So I honestly am a Christian. I pray about it. I read the word. And not only that, I stayed connected to my church in the United States. And it helped me because I felt grounded. Because when you move to a different country, you kind of feel ungrounded. Like you don't know the language, you don't know where to go. Sometimes the first thing you do is, if you're coming from stress, or maybe not, you're like, I just don't know where to go. Let's stay in the house. It's the simple answer. And your utopia becomes to close in on you. And maybe you went to the trips, but after that, it's like, oh, yeah, well, now what? And so you don't have a balance. So having something that's a staple to you, that you were practicing in the United States, and even if you weren't, something that's a staple to you can really help, because it gives you that familiarity that you really need on your journey, honestly, and it helps you feel better inside anyway. And so I would definitely recommend the Bible and staying connected to a church. That is awesome. And if you're looking for online church, Transformation Church is actually in Tulsa, Oklahoma, has a great online presence. So I would recommend them. Number two, the book that I would recommend is The 4-Hour Workweek. I think that is a wonderful book and a wonderful segment to those who are willing to change the way that they think and work. For me, going to work, 40, honestly, it was more, 40 to 60, sometimes more hours a week just to do one problem didn't make sense. I'm like, all right, if I didn't have to look like I was busy, I could have finished this work in 4 hours and been done with it and fixed the major things and been done with it. But because, most of the society in the United States says, come in and show that you're sitting here for 40 hours, sometimes, depending on your job, can be very unproductive. And so if you get the task done, then you're done. So the 4-hour work week, there's actually a lot to it, but part of that is, what is the, 20% that gets 80% done? And my job started to be like that. I had been in there for so long, I knew what to do. I knew that if I focus on this 20%, the bosses get applause and you get rewards. But because I had to stay there, I was burnt out for the, finishing the last 20% that really nobody cared about. And so I would say that this is a very good book to actually help you kind of change your mindset to like, okay, there's something to do. Also, the 4-hour work week talks about getting into a position where you're not always having to work year round. That is one concept. You can say, okay, I'm going to work, but I'm going to budget in such a way that I can live, underneath my means. So if I want to go away for a few months and just take mini vacations, if you will, is actually the term that's used in the book, then I can do so. And I can spend more time with my family. I can spend more time enjoying my life versus waiting until I'm 65 and then retiring and then trying to live out my best years when I didn't take care of myself because I was so busy at work. But if you were actually taking care of yourself, living your dream all alone, then you can actually, achieve what you want to go. And so that was actually very fundamental to actually how I got here. The other book that I've read just recently is called The Mountain Is You. The Mountain Is You is a great book. Now, there's some parts of it that I don't agree with, but I really did like the fact that you kind of have to get out your own way. A lot of times you're like, okay, maybe I should move to Costa Rica, maybe I shouldn't. Okay, I'm going to wait until after the birthday comes, or I'm going to wait until after the reward comes, or I get the promotion on my job. I just want to stay. I'm not going to stay there that long.
One eternity later.
But if I just want to, you get into your own way. You've already figured out your why, you figured out your budget, and then you just start making excuses. After Christmas, after this birthday, and you end up wasting time and never going. that's actually my story. I knew I wanted to go to Costa Rica,
Eventually.
and it took me 6 years to actually get here. Because I, just kept making excuses. I'm gonna wait till that project finished, and after that project was another project, and after that project was another project. And it took me a long time to actually get here. But when I finally made up my decision, it took me less than 6 months. And I had a house, I sold my house, cars, a lot of stuff, and I sold all that stuff because I knew that it was time, and if I didn't take the move and I didn't move now, then I was never going to take the move. And so it was very beneficial to actually understand that, hey, there's a different way. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have the book, when I was delayed. I'm not even sure if it was out when I was trying to get here, but reading it was like, oh, yeah, I had to get out my own way. But not even just then, before I got here, I have to get out my own way now. And so it's a very good read, and I think it will benefit you. Now, I don't agree with everything that it talks about, but there are some powerful key points in the book. The other book that I would recommend is, and I know this is changing, this is really old, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That mindset honestly helped me. And you're like, that has to do with, money and stuff like that. Yeah, it does. But it's a small read, a short read to understand that the value of money, is something that you have more power than you think you can, than you think you have. Yes, I won't say that I do follow Robert Kiyosaki. He was an author. I've seen him doing some other stuff. I will just say, I really like the original book. And there's actually a game that actually makes you think outside the box. The problem with moving to Costa Rica is part of that. It's thinking outside of the box. And so Rich Dad Poor Dad, the very book that I'm talking about, is actually talking about thinking outside the box financially, but you can actually bring that, not only the financial part to it, but think outside the box when it comes to moving to Costa Rica. Because if you realize what's going on, and the reason why you're having trouble moving is because you're in the box. I was supposed to go to school, I was supposed to go to college, and then I was supposed to get married, and then I needed a house, and then I needed to spend a car, then I needed the next phone. You're in the box, you're in the system of the United States system. It's like, you'll be happy if you have more. And honestly, I don't believe that's the case. Sometimes less is more, and this, in my opinion, moving to Costa Rica, especially if that's what you want to do, is having less and having more. And having less doesn't mean less finances or whatever. It means you realize that life is more than just the next iPhone or the next Samsung Galaxy phone if you're an Android person. It is more about what are your experiences. And if you want the experiences in Costa Rica, then you have to be in Costa Rica. So you're going to have to start changing that chip. Finally, I will say, there are other books, but finally I'll say a book that actually kind of helped me a lot here was Relationship Goals by Mike Todd. And I'm throwing at books that have nothing to do with Costa Rica, but when you get here, you're going to have to make new friends and community. And if you're like me, it's like, oh, well, I've made friends, I've had the same friends for the last 20, 30 years. It's kind of out of the habit. And then you either swing, I've seen people swing to the hard left where it's like, anybody, yay! And then they get in a lot of bad friendships. And so relationship goals help you. And I've seen people like myself swing to the opposite way. The pandemic was like, oh, I got nobody. Well, honestly, I did. But it was like, meet new friends. Oh, maybe not, maybe later, to put a priority on that, and I would say relationship goals help. Yes, relationship goals is about not only romantic relationships, but it's all about, having good relationships, period. And I do recommend his book because it's really, really helpful. And I would throw in Crazy Faith, but we're going to stick to these, so far. So the very, very good, powerful books that actually help you and motivate you to get out there. Because when you're in Costa Rica, one of the first things after you've gotten over the hump and you get here, the next hurdle is getting used to feeling uncomfortable when you don't understand the language, when you're meeting new people, trying to figure out who to trust, trying to get that environment, for you so that you actually feel like, hey, this is home. Because home comes in, a lot when you feel like you're walking in purpose and you actually have good friends to talk to. So that's why I recommend these particular books to help you on your journey. So if you want to know more about living in Costa Rica, I want you to check out these 2 videos, and I will see you on the other side.